Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive? Today we're tackling a topic that's had, well, some pretty big shifts lately. Life insurance for folks with HIV.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely not what it used to be.
Not at all. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that getting coverage felt like, well, impossible, right? But the landscape is changing big time thanks to all the advancements in HIV treatment.
Huge changes.
And that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. We'll uncover how insurance companies are looking at risk now. We'll break down the different types of policies you can actually get.
And help you get some solid advice, some tips on how to actually get the best coverage possible.
Right, because it can be confusing, especially with all the changes happening.
Absolutely. It's a whole new ball game. What's fascinating to me is like how these medical advancements have just reshaped, everything, the financial landscape for people living with HIV.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so before we get to all the good stuff, let's take a quick trip back in time, like just a level set, paint a picture of where things stood before, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we have to acknowledge the history, right? The early days of the HIV/AIDS epidemic, there was so much fear, just a lack of understanding. And the treatments back then, nowhere near as effective as they are now.
Right, a very different time.
And it created a massive stigma. Insurance companies basically saw individuals with HIV as, well, untouchable, way too high risk, uninsurable. It was heartbreaking for people who just wanted to protect their families, their loved ones, think about their financial future.
Yeah, you're right. It really puts things in perspective. Health crises, they don't just impact, your health. They ripple out to society and the economy.
For sure.
But like you said, things have shifted and for the better. So let's talk about today. What does the landscape look like now?
Well, the real turning point, the game changer, has been antiretroviral therapy, or ART. You've probably heard of it.
Art, yeah.
These medications, I mean, they've totally revolutionized treatment. People are living longer, healthier lives. And one of the most important things for insurance companies now is the idea of an undetectable viral load.
Ah, okay, that's what we've been hearing a lot about. So for our listeners out there specifically, how big of a deal is an undetectable viral load when you're trying to get life insurance? Does it actually help you get a good rate?
Huge deal. Having an undetectable viral load, it's basically the best case scenario when it comes to getting good rates on life insurance. What it means is the amount of HIV in your blood is so low that, well, standard tests can't even find it. Now, this doesn't mean the virus is gone completely, but it means the treatment's doing its job. It's working, and you're far less likely to transmit the virus to someone else.
Right, okay.
And this is key for insurance companies because it means lower risk for them, which makes them, well, much more likely to offer you coverage and at a better rate. Think about it. If you were an insurance company,
Yeah, it makes sense.
you'd want to know this.
It's not just about the diagnosis itself.
Exact.
It's about how well you're managing it. That's a really important takeaway for our listeners.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. And along with viral load, insurers also look at your CD4 count. This basically tells them how strong your immune system is.
Oh, okay, I've heard of that, but remind me, how does that work?
So a higher CD4 count, the better. It means your immune system is in good shape and, again, lower risk for the insurance company. Usually a CD4 count over 500 is associated with getting those better rates. So that's something to aim for sure.
Okay, got it. 500. So they're looking at the whole picture then,
Yeah, they're taking it all in.
not just like focusing on the HIV.
Exactly. They'll consider your overall health, any other health conditions you might have, just like they would with any other applicant.
Okay, that makes sense. So it sounds like they're looking at your overall health picture. But what about like staying on top of your treatment? How important is that for them? I mean, does it really make a difference?
It's massive. Medication adherence, that's what they call it. That's a big one for insurance companies. They really want to see that you're taking your meds consistently, as prescribed. It gives them confidence. Confidence about your health, their risk. Taking your medications like clockwork shows them that you're committed to managing your condition. And that's a huge plus in their books.
Okay, that makes sense. So for our listeners who are now thinking, okay, life insurance is an option for me, let's get into the actual policies. Like, what are the different types they can actually choose from?
Great question. Let's break down the big three. Fully underwritten policies, simplified issue life insurance, and guaranteed issue life insurance.
Okay, three options.
Yeah, three main ones. First up, fully underwritten policies. These tend to give you the best rates, the most competitive ones. The catch is they require a full medical exam.
Right. And for some people, that might be a bit, nerve-wracking, especially with, the history we talked about. A medical exam might bring up some past anxieties.
I completely understand. It can be a hurdle for some. So if the medical exam feels like too much, there's another option, simplified issue life insurance.
Okay, and what's the difference there?
Well, with simplified issue, you still got to answer some health questions, but the good news is no medical exam. So less stress, potentially.
Okay, so less invasive. Got it. And then you mentioned a third type. What was it again?
Guaranteed issue.
Guaranteed issue, right? What's the deal with those policies?
Guaranteed issue life insurance is exactly what it sounds like. Guaranteed approval. Doesn't matter what your health history looks like.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's like a safety net if you're having trouble getting coverage elsewhere. The trade-off is you're going to have higher premiums, and sometimes there's a waiting period before the full death benefit kicks in.
Okay, so higher cost but guaranteed coverage. Got it. So it sounds like we have a good range of options, but it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all situation. It depends on each person's situation, right?
Absolutely, and that's why, it's so helpful to work with a knowledgeable broker, someone who knows this stuff inside and out. They can help you navigate the whole process, find the best policy based on your unique circumstances, your health, your finances, the whole nine yards.
Right, someone who specializes in this kind of thing.
Exactly. They've seen it all. They know the ins and outs. But what about, what if someone can't afford to work with a specialized broker? What are their options then?
That's a great question, actually.
Well, thankfully, there are resources out there. Online, you can find a lot of information about different policies and insurance companies. It might take a little more digging on your part, but you can still find the right coverage for you. And don't forget about advocacy groups. Some of them even offer, free financial counseling, specifically for people living with HIV.
Oh, that's good to know. So don't be afraid to reach out for help.
Exactly.
So any other practical tips for our listeners on how to increase their chances of getting a good rate? You mentioned healthy lifestyle earlier. What does that really mean?
Yeah, so think of a healthy lifestyle as your secret weapon. Eating healthy, staying active, ditching those cigarettes. All of that sends a strong message to insurance companies. Shows them you're proactive about your health, which can really make a difference in the rate you get. And of course, we talked about this earlier, sticking to your prescribed treatments religiously it's crucial. It really is.
Right? Medication adherence. It all adds up.
It does. It all ties together.
So bottom line is, life insurance, it is achievable for people with HIV.
It absolutely is.
It's all about, like you said, understanding how it works, what factors they're looking at.
And making informed choices.
Exactly. Knowledge is power.
100%.
We've been focusing on individual life insurance this whole time, but it makes me think, what about other types of insurance? Like, what about disability insurance or long-term care insurance? Those could be important for our listeners too, right?
That's a great point. You're thinking ahead. Disability insurance, that can be a lifesaver, literally, if you become unable to work, provides you with income. And long-term care insurance, well, that can help cover the costs of things like assisted living or in-home care down the road. These are definitely worth looking into, especially as we get older.
Right. It's not just about life insurance. There's a whole world of coverage out there.
Exactly. There's a lot to consider.
Well, I hope our listeners take that to heart. This has been a really informative deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.